It was 2 AM and way past bedtime, and I'd pulled an all-nighter the previous night too. While finally clearing the table I was playing video games on, I decided to put all the water bottles away that had been out for days and days. I tossed the empty ones, but my cat was being rambunctious and trying to open the trash can. So I picked her up. I was holding my cat and putting some unfinished water bottles back in the fridge. She struggled free and hopped onto the counter, but I was too tired to scold her, so I continued grabbing huge amounts, 6 or 7 at a time, both hands, of half-full water bottles from the counter and into the fridge. I pick them up. I put them in the fridge. I pick them up. I put them in the fridge. I pick her up. I put her in the fridge. I close the fridge. I take 2 minutes to finish up the dishes. I turn off the kitchen light. I hear faint mewing. I wake up. I open the fridge. She is so cold, but she is okay. Now every time I open the ducking fridge she climbs in. Sometimes I don't notice her and she's trapped for a moment until I hear mewing. And I know it's all my fault. Edit to clarify that I don't just start new water bottles halfway through. It's over days and days. Got a bag of microwave popcorn and made it halfway up the stairs before realizing I didn't pop it. I was getting ready for work and had a contact in one hand and a vitamin in the other. Popped the contact in my mouth and washed it down with a glass of water. I'm sure the stomach acid took care of it. Put cat food in the coffee maker. 10/10 would not recommend. I made the best ever chicken stock. Lovingly simmered for 24 hours. Then, without thinking, I put the colander in the sink and tipped the stock down the drain, saving the scraps. I cried. Let's just say that now whenever I'm looking for my phone, the first thing I check is to see if it's currently in my hands. I am currently at university and live on the 5th floor of a dormitory. All the floors are identical other than the colors of the paint on the wall. One day I was taking the elevator up to the 5th floor and I was sending a text to my mother. When I arrived at my floor, a person I had never seen before got on the elevator. I consciously noted that it was weird because I knew everyone on my floor. But I walked to my room and walked in. My living room seemed slightly off, and then a girl walked into the living room and casually goes, "What are you doing in my room?" That's when I realized I had gotten off on an earlier floor and I just absent-mindedly walked into someone else's room. Needless to say, I got out of that room really fast after realizing what I had done. Swished my mouthwash for a solid 30 seconds and then just spit it on the floor where I was standing. I'm a barista and I caught myself trying to pour coffee into a cup sleeve, not attached to a cup. I found myself taking a bath with all my clothes on. Never told anyone. Just went back to sleep. During a period when I was unemployed for a few months, I got into the habit of undoing my trousers before arriving at the bathroom. This led to a very embarrassing situation I found myself in when I became employed again and just undid my belt and trousers in the hallway while heading to the toilet. Thankfully I realized what I was doing before I exposed myself to my new co-workers. I put coffee in my dog's water bowl the other day. It was very early in my defense. I'm not sure this necessarily counts, but I'm a sleep eater. In the past 4 months, I've woken up trying to open a can of green beans with my bare hands and drinking from a gallon jug of soy sauce. I was a child and I had just gotten a dog. He was so cute. While I was holding the dog, he puked on my sleeve, close to my hand. Just a little bit. Just like a spot of puke. A cute spot of puke. So I thought I should remove it. So I licked my thumb and wiped out the puke. No. My brain ducked it up. I scrubbed the puke first and then licked my thumb. It did not taste good. Vigorously picking my nose while holding a cigarette and driving. Crammed lit cigarette up my nose. The night before my very first day at work, where I have to bring my own lunch, I got all the ingredients out to make my sandwich for tomorrow, and immediately after I made it I walked into the living room, turned on the TV and ate it. When I was around 13 or 14 I woke up in the middle of the night, in my own bed and room, and thought to myself, I need to go home before my parents realize I'm not home. So I sneak out of the house. Part of me obviously aware that my parents were sleeping and I needed to be quiet, and walked a block away. Then I realized I had been in my own room and just thought, what the hell am I doing? So I walked back and snuck back into bed. So weird. Tried to turn the sun off. Bad hangover. Opened my back door. Feeling for the light switch. No light switch. The light was day. I recently spent 10 minutes on the phone with Statufarm trying to pull up my policy, getting increasingly annoyed at the fact they couldn't find my policy number. Then I remembered. I have Progressive. Never had State Farm in my life. Leaving work. I had my hat in one hand and cell phone in the other. Something misfired and I put the cell phone on my head and hat in my pocket. There was a flashing realization that something wasn't right while standing there holding a phone to my bald spot and sporting a look of bewilderment. I wish someone had seen it. I was working at my computer and I had a cookie next to me. I finished the cookie and immediately took a bite out of the mouse. Realized it was hard. Sucked on it for a second, then put it down. Only realized what I had done a few minutes later. Edit. Spelling. Drove to work and realized when I got to the parking lot that I forgot to drop the kids at school. The kids knew too and stayed quiet thinking they'd get to miss school. Love those sneaky little its. Put tomatoes and lettuce in the microwave after making a sandwich, and then turned the microwave on. I woke up from a deep sleep having the feeling that there was an earthquake going on, so naturally I called to my wife, who I realized was in the living room reading, and asked her if everything was okay, and she asked why. I said there was just an earthquake, is everything okay? She said no, you just farted in your sleep and woke yourself up. I went back to bed. Painting a picture. Take a drink from the paintbrush water instead of my coffee. Not something I did, but something I thought. I was mindlessly clearing off my computer's desktop. I had just selected a huge batch of files to drag to the recycle bin. As I dragged them over the recycle bin, right after I let go of the mouse, I thought, oh no, that was a big batch. I hope it doesn't overflow. That's when I knew it was quitting time. One time my family traveled to Iowa and we stopped at a McDonald's. They were going through the drive-thru but I needed to pee, so I went inside. I went out the other exit when I was done and there was a red minivan just like ours, so I went to my side and opened the door and wasn't paying attention. I sat down, buckled my seatbelt and realized it was a bit different, but I still did it. I looked around and the van was full of old people just staring at me. They all looked scared. My family was in the van behind laughing their asses off. There were several nights where I was super tired and very hungry, so I would make some ramen noodles on autopilot, and the next morning I'd find my car keys in the refrigerator. Still not sure why I opened the fridge to make ramen noodles. I usually would stop at a gas station in the morning to get coffee. More than one occasion I would open the little flavor cups and pour them in the trash instead of my coffee cup. Sometimes I would do this to 3 or 4 cups before I realize what I'm doing. Caught myself sauteing fries once, and the sprouts were in the fryer. I had a very long day of computer drafting. Think plus 12 hours sitting and staring at 0.5 mm lines. And got really lost, so I asked the person next to me what the hell I did wrong because they seemed like they would absolutely have the explanation. I got most of the way through the answer before I realized not only had I asked my frazzled reflection a question, but I also calmly and matter-of-factly responded. I went home after that. What's really disconcerting is looking at all of these comments and being able to reply to 50% of them. I've done this too. I had a little piece of clear plastic I ripped off my binder in my hand I was going to throw away. In the hallway though, I see the dude I have a crush on and he waves. I panicked. For some reason I decide that he cannot see I have this plastic under any circumstances. So you know what I do? I put it in my mouth and wave back. Success. Until, that is, I start choking on it. I had to run to the bathroom and drink from the sink in order to not die. Drove my car to the student union to pick up a package. Parked with my hazards on. After I got the package I got food and proceeded to walk back to my room and play GTA for 2 hours before getting a call from university police saying to move my car. Workplace. Work department. This is Pokey RJ. How can I help you? And then I realize I'm answering my personal cell phone. At home. When my son went off to college I was stuck in the same routine that I had performed day in and out for close to 18 years. For some reason this truly threw off my entire thought process for weeks. One morning I got up and turned on the coffee pot like I normally do and walked to his room to wake him up. However, instead of flipping the light on and telling him it's time to get up, I crawled into his bed and went to sleep. I woke up 6 hours later with both my daughters in the bed with me and the smell of burnt coffee permeating from the kitchen. I honestly didn't think his growing up and moving out would have hit me like that. I eventually stopped making extra breakfasts and trying to wake up someone who wasn't there. It did make me think of my own mother though and how she felt after we grew up and left. Walked home from the shops. Then remembered that not only had I actually driven but my house keys were still in the car.